would like to call the March 23rd meeting of the Diversity, Racial Equity, and Inclusion Committee to order. I want to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded. It will be available for viewing by others. So please keep in mind that this is a recorded meeting. Moving right through the agenda, first wanted to approve the minutes for March 9th. I'm assuming everybody received those minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Had an opportunity to review the minutes. Was there any issues that we needed to identify in terms of changes?
No.
Okay, great. I would like.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the March 9th meeting.
A second to the motion?
A second.
We all vote? All approved? Aye, we're all set. Okay. Next item, the Transgender Day of Visibility update. And then wanted to just check in, see where we were. And I think Tricia, you had sent out our the webpage and the information that was there. And we also saw the interview that Latasha did. That was, I thought, very well done and very helpful. So any other comments or?
I watched the second interview today and I thought it was equally as good.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So the page is ready.
Very informative.
Yeah, it was. They both interviews were amazing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Thank you for all the contacts that were
Mhm.
put together. So whenever, on the morning of March 31st, is that when you want this all pushed out through news flashes and social media? Or do you want to do it the night before?
I'm okay doing it the night before. I don't know if there's any, if people have, strong feelings one way or the other, but I would just as soon get it out there.
I agree.
I see heads nodding, so I'm going to assume that
Yes.
that's how we'll go. Okay, great, sounds good. Anything else that we that need to be reviewed as it relates to this particular event? Okay, all right. Well, moving on, the Women's History Month. We were able to get some information up for that. I don't know if who wanted to speak to that necessarily, but
Excuse me, Phil, are we taking that out of order? I think I have the agenda number 4.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no. I should open the good eye here. I'm very sorry. Yeah, I skipped over the situation, the unfortunate situation with the attacks on the Asian American community. So we were able to get something up quickly onto our website. So I think it's important that we were able to do that. And I also think the link to the article from the New York Times was pretty informative, at least from my perspective, and wanted to make sure that got up there as well.
Can I ask that somebody read it? I don't have the webpage up right now, but Phil, do you by any chance have that statement in front of you? I think it's important to read it for the record out loud. If I can get it. Hold on, I can get it. But do you guys all agree that should be read out loud?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a matter of public record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it should be.
Do you want to read it, Phil, or do you want me to read it?
Yeah. Well, if I can get to it, you can bear with me for just a moment. Let me see if I can get it.
Hey, Joe.
Actually, I am, I think I'm going to have to ask you to,
Okay.
I can read it out if you
I
don't
have
have.
it if you want me to
read
read
that.
it right now.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Either one of you can read it. I'm okay with not, but I will.
Whoever wants to read. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have it right up in front of me.
It was a statement that Phil drafted and we posted it on our website. And if one of you has it open and wants to read it out loud, the clerk, maybe Susan. as the
I'll
clerk.
read it. It's
Do
the
you have
one
it?
that's,
Okay.
that says DREIC stands with the Asian American Pacific Islander community. That's the one you're talking about, right?
Mhm.
All right, I will read that. The Diversity, Racial Equity, and Inclusion Committee mourns the victims of the recent shootings of Asian Americans in Atlanta. Our hearts go out to the families of those who lost loved ones as a result of the attacks. We understand that anytime a member of the human family is victimized by senseless hatred and violence, we are all diminished. Attacks on Asian Americans have been on the rise, especially since the start of the pandemic. This latest atrocity is a reminder of the continued existence of racial hatred and bigotry, and the willingness of too many people to explain it away or ignore it altogether. It also strengthens our resolve to oppose racism, discrimination, and hatred while advocating for diversity and inclusion. Our committee stands with Chelmsford's Asian American, Pacific Islander community, as well as those communities across the country.
I would also like to take this opportunity to remind individuals that are moved by these events that we do have an individual anti-racism pledge on our website. Go to the diversity website and or you can type in anti-racism pledge. The link to that pledge will come up. It will ask that people log in and create a profile, and that way it shows a signature, and they can submit their own individual pledge against racism.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And what better way for folks to demonstrate their willingness to stand up and stand with the AAPI community, on this situation. I mean, ideally, I guess everybody has a hope or desire, as it relates to this work and looking at the future. And unfortunately, I've been here a long time, and I've seen this stuff repeat over and over and over and over and over. And I'd be happy to get to a point where we wouldn't have to do this stuff anymore. That would be fantastic. But unfortunately, we're not there. And if we run into people, I've run into a couple of people just this weekend and said, "Gee, what can I do? What can I do?" You know what I said? go fill out the pledge. That's what you can do.
It's a start.
That's what as a place to start. So
yeah. And Brian has his hand up, Phil.
Yeah, Brian. Yeah.
Do we know anything about Boulder? Anything further about what the motivations were behind that?
I haven't. I don't know anything else about that.
Okay.
They know who the gentleman is who committed the crime,
Right.
but they don't have a lot of information about motive yet. They said he was unable to get a girlfriend. I don't think that's a motive. But who knows? He's probably just got some emotional problems. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Phil, for drafting that very important message. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And Women's History Month, if we wanted to move on. Oh, Brian, did you have more comments about that?
Just the only other comment I have is that, as America has shown us over and over again, inadequate mental health infrastructure plus easy access to firearms is a not very good mix. So
recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Recipe for disaster. So. Okay, so okay, moving along. Did we have any thing on women's health? Women's
history.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we probably should have rearranged the agenda because it does seem like an awkward transition to go back to Women's History Month after that. But I mean, it's basically still going on for the month of March. We have information up on the website. We had some really great profiles of Chelmsford women in history, which I thought was a really great way it was a nice angle, and it really was very well meaning, especially somebody is recently passed is Peggy Dunn. If anybody knew her, her birthday was just recent, and somebody was posting memories about her, and I was able to point to that page, and it really meant a lot to those people that she was on there. And we learned a lot about some of Chelmsford women in history that I've been wanting to know, for a long time, and we dug that up, and so I think people appreciated having that connection to the community. So that's up there still.
Is it only limited to Chelmsford women in history, or
Well,
is it?
That was just what we decided to focus on for this month because we didn't have a lot of time to plan, and so I mean we can add more people later. But right now the focus for this year, for this month, was we decided to focus on Chelmsford women in history because we just did, notable Black people of color that were
Right.
all over that didn't have a connection to town. So that
Yep.
was why we brought it back to Chelmsford. But
Because
next year,
yeah, I sent a
And-
link to you about Deb Holland, who was confirmed as a cabinet to the cabinet.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I think I
And
put that
Yeah.
up there, I think.
yeah,
Didn't I?
but that's also historical, so she can go in both categories for Indigenous
That
people as
was in
well
the
as women for
Indigenous
history.
people. I put her
Yep.
on the Indigenous people page.
Okay.
Yeah, which really, again, we haven't publicized a lot yet, but I've little by little been building it up. But so
And I just wanted to add also, we decided to do women who had passed away because we didn't want to ignore anyone in the present right now. When you start doing that, you miss someone, it can create
Yeah.
a little chaos. So what we decided is going forward for next year, we'll do present. So we'll have plenty of time to plan accordingly and work on it. And we have to start these things months in advance as opposed to waiting, because before you know it, like we at February with Black History Month, and then all these other activities are happening right after. So we need to be at least 6 months in advance on some of these items just to get ahead of it. So that was one of the things. So next year we will do the present
Okay.
women of Chelmsford, and maybe some, any ideas and thoughts, you can start thinking about that now.
yeah, the culture and community communication committees can start working on some criteria. That's those subgroups can work on
Yeah,
criteria.
that's going to be a a little more challenging effort on our part,
Yeah.
so because
You don't
it
get
can
anybody.
be kind of slippery. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but
And
no,
just
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think that, being able to tie it into the town like we did this time was a great idea. I think it worked well. And, I heard a few things myself from folks I know in town that said, hey, that was a great idea. Hey, that was, that was really something different, and, and it was. And I think it made people go, oh, okay. This, folks who might have been inclined to maybe ignore Women's History Month or say, oh, gee, another one of those months, celebrating something, it got them to kind of connect and go, oh, yeah, I remember, yeah, so and so, or I knew this person, or they were a good friend of mine, or whatever, and they could connect with it, and it made some sense. So I thought that worked out. I thought that worked out really well.
Right. And I just wanted to say that, that was part of the communications working group. And one of the other things we talked about is April next month is Autism Month. And so I did receive a message from Lauren Cochran, and we're going to be I am scheduled, well, not even scheduled yet, but I'm trying to schedule an interview with Beth Bellany, and she is in charge of the National Autism Society. She has she works there. So I'm going to be reaching out to her to interview her for National Autism Month. So more to come on that, but I wanted to make sure, because it's not on the agenda, but I wanted to make sure that's something we talked about in our communications working group. I'm trying to get ahead of it. And then, then there's May and June and other things to happen. But I just wanted to let you know that we have April covered. And great job, Tricia, on the putting out the Library of Congress on women. That was excellent at the top of the month. Very, very quick thinking.
Yeah, just to get something out there mid-month. Thanks.
Yeah, that's really one of the challenges with doing this work, is that you've got all of the kind of scheduled events and issues, and then you have these things that happen that really you want to respond to. Like unfortunate as it was, you have the situation with the shootings in Atlanta, and somehow we weren't all able to get together and kind of talk it through and figure out what we're going to do. At the same time, you figure there needs to be something that you try to do. So that's can be a bit of a struggle. And maybe one of the things we can think about, at least I've been thinking about it, and we can address it, down the road a piece, is trying to figure out, is there a particular way we can, in a more, structured kind of fashion respond to issues that pop up like that. Things that come up, should we, try to pull together a quick meeting? Should we, simply get a core of people who want to get together and kind of talk through, hey, let's do this and get something posted? How do we want to respond? Because I'm reasonably certain we'll have other situations that will come up, especially now that we're, meeting on a little different schedule. Then there's a likelihood something could come up, on an off week and that sort of thing. So I'm thinking that maybe in the future we kind of talk about what might be the best way to address, new issues as they come up. Brian, you had your hand up?
Yeah, speaking of things that popped up, I wanted to bring up something positive that I actually noticed today. I don't know if anybody else saw the article that Evanston, Illinois is now the first city in the US to actually do real reparations for their Black citizens.
Mm.
I saw that Amherst is actually considering a similar program, and they were looking to Evanston for inspiration. So I thought that was something that should be brought out and commented on as a positive development in America.
Well, yeah. In Amherst, Massachusetts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, they were one of the cities that were listed as considering it in the article that I read.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a link to a whole separate article on Amherst's activities around this.
Okay. No,
Can you share that link via email, Brian, with us?
Yeah, it was an AP article. So I'll
Look
pull
it
it
up.
up and I'll pull it up and email it.
And I think it was also featured on CBS 60 Minutes. They had a piece on it, which was really interesting in how they were going to use the tax from cannabis to support that effort.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I hadn't heard that. I wasn't aware of that. Oh, all right. Well, continuing to move down the list, the diversity training. Rachel and I met on our diversity training piece, and I think one of the things too that I had done. I'm assuming everybody got a list of. I just tried to pull together some different potential training topics, for the committee to look at, because one of the things we obviously talked about is providing our committee with some sort of training. And I guess for me, it's a little harder than it initially seems, because on the one hand, you've got people who have their own individual interests in areas that they may want to focus on from a training standpoint. But then you need to look at the committee and say, what's going to be the best what'll be most beneficial to the committee as a whole, because there might be some a different type of training and a different way to focus in on that. So I think that before we as the team commit to some sort of training, we all need to get on kind of on the same page and see what it is what we want to do and how we want to do it. Tricia, you had your hand up.
You're muted, Tricia.
You're muted.
Thank you about that. I just wanted to take this opportunity, since we're talking about training, just to give a little plug to the Chelmsford Police Department, because I saw the chief today and he said they started a week-long training for the entire department on implicit bias and policing and on implicit bias. And so it's an 8-hour block for every officer. And I was very pleased to hear that. So all week we're focusing on that. Yeah, and he also said that maybe down the road, since I think it was Lieutenant Ahern did the train the trainer kind of thing, and the chief was talking about bringing that maybe to town hall and offering that implicit bias training to town employees as well, which I thought was great. So I just wanted to kind of let the committee know that the police are taking advantage of that training.
No, that's good enough. That's good to know. So I don't know if folks had any thoughts that they wanted to share at this point about, training for our group. If you have feelings, Rachel, I didn't know what you wanted to add. I see your hand up now. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to add from like a training I think would be helpful is, I don't know if this exists, but I would love to know like how to apply to like a town setting, like connecting like what we're trying to do, like not only for our own learnings of our own biases and our own journeys, but like how do we create change in these places? What are the things that we can focus on? What's most impactful at a town level? Like I'd love something that connected there and kind of, where the rubber meets the road for us.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean like collaborating with other towns to see what they might have done in terms of training and what was most impactful for them?
Yeah, maybe something along that line, or just kind of understanding deeper, like scope of influence, like what's worked really well there, techniques, like things that it helps to kind of understand.
Yeah, and I would imagine too, we'd want to be able to have some way of assessing what the impact was, if there was any impact. So I mean, we're talking about that, and I think you raise a good point. But I also, at the same time, I wonder if lots of people in various towns thought about that and built that into whatever training activity, because it's great to say all this stuff, and people say, oh yeah, well, there's been some impact. But unless you can start to really draw a specific, kind of connection between, hey, we did this type of training, we covered these types of issues, and people in these kinds of positions were kind of focused on, and this is the end result of their participation. These things in town actually changed. Unless you can see that, it's really hard to assess it. So that to me has been one of the tough things about just trying to decide what resources to bring in, because there are a lot of places out there. I had an opportunity to talk with Maria Palacio, and she shared a lot of resources with me. So I've been chatting with people. Not all of them have gotten back to me, but again, there's just a real wide, scope of potential focus, and it's kind of hard to figure out where do we, who do you choose? And then, a lot of these, places, are kind of pricey. So, it's like, well, you need to choose somebody, but you're going to have to pay for it at some point. So you've got that going on too. So, Sharice, you have your hand up?
I had sent over 3 speakers, and I can't believe I missed the one today. I'm just looking at the time, but there's 3 speakers. I sent this over, and it's Ibram Kendi, who is a Boston University historian. He's going to be speaking on, you have to register, and I'll send this link over again on April 21st from 5 to 6. It's free, and he's going to be, they're going to be talking about racial equity. So it might be something to just chime in. I will find out if these are taped and let you know, because I missed the one today with Laura Roberts. She was someone I knew from church. So I will send this over to you again, and if you can register, it might be something interesting, just something on the that we can on our own individual time just watch in the meantime while we wait for something else.
Okay, great, thanks. Tricia, were you going to say any other?
I'm all set. I'm just waiting for somebody to decide on the training, and I'm just going to take it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to mention regarding the training is that I think we did zero in on the self-directed training that we'd want to present to the board, and that would be the information from, and I wrote it down this time so I don't have to ask you, Rachel, what's the name of that group again? I wrote it down this time. Point Made Learning, and their process. I think we've referenced that a number of times here, and I mean, it's only 80. It's only $80 a pop. So we figure, I mean, at $80 a pop, we could have our whole committee train as well as the board, and still have money. So that's and we need to make all those decisions. But I think at least we know that's where we want to go with the self-directed training for the board. Tricia, now you have your hand up.
I do. I'd like to actually ask if it would be okay to entertain a motion to allocate those funds for each of our committee members to take that training. We'd have to vote to approve it. Is now the right time, or?
I mean, I guess my only question would be, we don't have like a full complement of people here. Do we want to have more people before we commit that, or am I too worried about that? I mean, where are other people? I think we need to get moving on training, any way you slice it. So yeah, I'm okay with that. If everyone else is fine with that, then
we have a quorum, right?
We do have a quorum. Yes.
Yeah.
Should sorry, just to interject. I don't know how we allocate this and how we want to look at the licenses, but could we vote to do like an opt-in, and so people like reach out and say, I will definitely take this, and we allocate for those who say, I want to take this. If we have some members who don't have the bandwidth to take it, the course,
Yeah,
or are we requiring this of everyone? And I've taken it, so I just want to make sure we don't spend money on all the licenses for everyone if everyone's not going to take it.
Well, we could do a motion order, like not to exceed, a number not to exceed. So not very good at math. I would have to, I'm like not to exceed $80 times 12 people. But Rachel, if you've already taken it and you don't want to, but maybe you could apply it to something else, but I don't know how the rest of the feel about that. I just like Phil said, I think we need to get started on some training, and I don't think we can recommend training to anybody else until we've taken some training ourselves. And
Right.
we that would be a perfect, I think, an appropriate way for us to start.
Right.
How long is the training, Rachel?
I do it self-paced. I always did it with a group, so we met weekly on a few modules. And so it ended up taking like a few months to get through, but I think we can do it a lot faster. Like, I think we can maybe break it up into like, we take like half the modules one week and then have like maybe a working session where we talk about it and then do the second half. So maybe we can do it within like a month.
Are you saying that we would do it as a group, like, or we would just do it on our own? I mean,
it's self-paced, so you do it on your own, but I do think there's value in coming together and just talking about what you learned and reacting to it a little bit as a group.
Yeah. Well, I would like to make a motion, and you guys can vote on it however you see fit, but I think it's important that we start, and we've got the funds. So if 12 of us take the $80 course each, it would be a total of $960.
Right.
So I'd like to make a motion that we approve what is the name of the company again?
Point Made Learning.
Point Made Learning training. Is there a title to the particular training?
I'm not racist, am I?
I'm not racist, am I training? So I'd like to make a motion that we each participate in the I'm not racist, am I training, and for a total of for $80 a piece, but not to exceed $960.
I second that.
So,
Yep.
all in favor?
First, we got to do any discussion. Is there any further discussion before we vote on this one? Because it's money. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
yep. So because it's money, is there any further discussion before we vote?
Nope,
Nope.
not for me.
Go ahead, Phil. Now you can say it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I.
Motion passes.
So
So you
basically,
saying
as each
amen
one
at
of you,
church.
as each one of you takes the training, I'm sorry, my dog is going to continue barking. As each one of you takes the training, just submit the invoice to me in the town clerk's office, and then I'll submit for reimbursement for you from the REIC fund. But also, I may have to get you a W-9 form too, just to get reimbursed. So,
And now, does everybody have the link, or we're going to need to send that out to folks so that everybody's got the link?
If you could
I
send
have
it,
it.
that would be great. I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
Okay, so who's gonna send that out to everybody? Rachel will.
Hello.
Okay, thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm looking forward to taking the training.
By the way, did anybody else happen to play that game that I demoed for you? Fairplaygame.org?
Yeah, I tried it
I
when you
couldn't
first mentioned it,
I
and
couldn't get
then
into it.
yeah, now you can't get into it.
What?
Yeah, it's like they shut it down or something.
Huh. That's too
And
bad.
Brian, I tried it and it was really glitchy.
Yeah, I
Get
mean,
it to run smoothly. And so I kind of unfortunately got tired of waiting for it to move along.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So I think it was helpful to know about, but I don't know that we would want to recommend it to people if it's going to be that user unfriendly, as I had felt it to
You
be.
probably have to be a power gamer to have all the cool systems with all the high tech stuff, right?
No, this was not a very high-tech game, but it might not have been as well made as something that you would expect to see. Um, I'm I was just able to get to the loading screen, so it's loading. I'm confused as to why everybody was saying
Yeah.
you couldn't get into it anymore. That's confusing.
I don't know.
Also, it does tend to run better if you download it to your own system. So that's the way I played it. I downloaded it. But yeah, it just loaded up for me right now, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. That was weird.
So I did not download it, and I was able to get the guy to stop and talk to maybe two people, but then once he got back into that courtyard, it
Mhm.
really slowed down and I couldn't go much further. So,
No, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah.
It looked pretty neat. I mean,
I haven't tried it yet, so maybe this weekend I'll try it. We'll see.
All right. Well, I would suggest that you download it and run it on your own system
I
instead of
will
trying to
do.
run it in the web version if it was running that badly for Susan.
Okay.
Right. I I just wanted to take a bit of a sidestep here. I know at the beginning of our meeting there were a number of our members who expressed some concern because the debate is this evening as well, and I know some people are kind of looking at their watches, going, "Gee, are we going to be here? Are we going to
It's
go
not
through
aired
it?"
yet. That's
Yeah.
all I can tell you.
So,
It's,
so
I've
I
got
think
it
it
on.
starts at 7:30. I think we're at almost the end of our agenda. Revisiting the goals, I think is going to be a longer conversation. So I wanted to stop and check with the committee and see if folks are okay with us continuing our meeting for the 30th, which we are going to meet on the 30th, as we had indicated before, because I know that there was interest in actually viewing the debate, but I wanted to make sure that everyone was okay with that, or if folks, had different feelings about that. So I wanted to check in.
I just had one question. Carly, were you able to get into that once I gave you my login, and were you able to do anything with Smart Sheets?
Yeah, I called Smartsheet. I'm supposed to be meeting up with an account rep this week,
Okay.
on Friday. And so I will get back to you with an update on what happens from that
Very-
point.
Okay. Very good.
So can I make a motion that we table revisiting the goals until our next meeting?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I'll second that. Yeah, there's one agree. The only other thing that I did want to mention quickly is that I did have a conversation with Maria Palacio, and she would like to attend our meeting on the 30th just to kind of introduce herself, talk a little bit about the library, ways that we might be able to partner with the library. I thought that might be a good idea. I think, we're looking maybe, 15, 20 minutes or so, if that much, but at the beginning of next, of our meeting next week, and wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that and okay with that. All right, great. Well, if there are no other points, I'd like to see if there is anyone who would like to move that we adjourn the meeting.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:35 p.m., please.
Anyone want to second that?
Sharice is seconding.
Second. All right. Great. Well,
Excellent. Thank you
All
very
right,
much, Joe.
guys.
Thanks,
Good.
Good luck.
everybody.
Good night.
see you next
Have a
week.
great
Good
night.
luck. Go, Latasha.
Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye,
Good
guys.
night.